Hello, and thank you for joining me. In this session, we're going to review the variables exercise. In this exercise, our job is to write a procedure using the Visual Basic Editor that will declare the variables listed as the data types shown next to them. Once those variables have been declared, we want to assign them values and have those values displayed here on the worksheet. To get started, we want to open up the Visual Basic Editor, and we do that by pressing Alt F11. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is this folder right here that's listed Microsoft Excel Objects. Beneath that is an object called Sheet 1. That's the sheet we're working in. And if you look next to it in parentheses, there's the sheet's name, which is Variables Exercise. This is the name that I've given this worksheet. It's also the name that you'd find in the Worksheets tab at the bottom of a workbook. Below that is an object referred to as this workbook. This workbook refers to the workbook where the code is being ran from. So to get started, we want to go ahead and insert a module. Now the first thing we want to type in our module is option explicit. And what this does is it requires that the compiler check for any variables that are undefined. If there are any undefined variables, it will not compile. Next, we want to begin by starting a procedure. And we're going to go ahead and just call this an abbreviation of our worksheet. There we go. Now watch what happens whenever I press enter. The parentheses and the end sub automatically appear. Now what I want to do is start declaring variables. Okay, so we have x. We're going to say dim x as, and that is a double. And we're going to do dim y as boolean. We're going to do z. We're going to declare z as a variant. And we are going to declare the variable ws as a string. All right, so we've declared our variables. Now we want to start assigning them values. So we're going to say x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're just making things up right here. And we'll say true. And since z is a variant, we're going to say equals letters or numbers. Could be either letters or numbers or strings or boolean or anything else. And then finally, our variable ws, we're very specific. We want to make that as a string, and we're actually going to name it after our worksheet. To make things simple, I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste. There we go. Okay, so we've declared our variables and we've assigned them values. Now we can actually run through the code to see if this has worked so far. One of the things we can do is we can go to a variable and right-click on it and add a watch. We're going to tell it OK. And if you notice, it pops up here down in the watch window. I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of our variables. Okay, so I've added all of our variables to the watch window. Now if you notice these values right now, they're listed out of context because we're not running any code. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go line by pressing F8. And let's see what happens. So as I go through my code, let's see if it assigns the values down here. So far it looks like it's working pretty well. So what we see is that the variables down here in the watch window show us what values are actually being placed in them. Now the next thing we want to do is take these values and list them over here in our worksheet. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that these values are listed in the correct workbook, the workbook where the code is being ran. So I'm going to type in this workbook. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is that next few items I'm going to type in, these are Excel specific. So we've gone in and told this workbook to activate, and I'm going to go ahead and use our variable. I'm going to tell it to select this worksheet. And if you recall, our variable ws is the same name as the worksheet that we're working from. So I've activated this workbook, and now I'm telling it to select the sheet that we want. Okay, so now I want to actually reference these cells right here. And this is one way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it sheets. Again, I'm going to refer to our worksheet, and I'm going to refer to a very specific range, in this case C5. C5. And I'm going to list value. And I want that to equal our x variable. Now I'm going to do this for each of our variables, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump ahead by simply copying and pasting. So I'm going to go here. Now, since this is a simple exercise, I can kind of get away with this. More complicated procedures, you don't want to do this. So yes, I am teaching you a bad habit right off the bat. And then down here I have WS. Now I need to make sure that I change my ranges. So here we're going to switch this to, this is 8, this is 7, and this is 6. So let's see if that worked for us. And again, we're just going to go line by line through the code. So we made sure that we selected the correct workbook, right sheet, and now we're actually going to start printing values. So let's see. And if you notice over here, it printed them out. So let's do that again. Only this time I'm going to use just the play button up here at the top. There we go. Now since we're here, I'm going to briefly show you comments. I'm going to hit the single quote, and I'm just going to type in some notes here. So in this case, I am declaring variables, and then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say assign values, and then I'm going to say Excel workbook info, and then I'm going to say display values. And the idea behind commenting, and if you notice this is green text, is that number one, this information doesn't go into the compiler, but what it's supposed to do is allow anyone who comes back and looks at my code, or even whenever we go back and we look at our code and it's been some time, this is to help someone understand what our code is, how it works, and how it functions. Now, it's good to kind of keep your code tidy. So if you found this video useful, please click like and share with others. Thank you.